Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And what better gameplay could I use than what represents, in my opinion, everything that's great about Xbox, and that is Halo. This is the OG. Yes, it took a bit of a beating on the chin, so to speak, when it was not being handled the correct way. But obviously, you'll see. I'm not sure the last time you got into Halo multiplayer, it's just straight up fire. This is some gameplay from it. We're going to get into today's show. Expected to run about maybe 75 minutes. This is one of the smaller programs of the week. Obviously, today's the big day, folks. This is what we've been waiting for. Today is the business update with the three bigs. Obviously, the official Xbox podcast is happening 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern, which of course is where we are, and of course, and that's on the East Coast. I don't expect the podcast to be more than 30 minutes, give or take. I don't know if we have an actual time frame for the show. I don't think there's going to be any, laughy feely things going on. I think like they're going to get right into it. And I know I literally was just talking with C here, and we are starting. We've seen some of the rhetoric, and some folks. Which again, if you have concern, you have every right to have concern about how your brand that you like is going to look like after this. We don't know. There's some talk, see, about having a little less confidence because the big three are there. But you and I seem to think on the same level here. I think, and we'll get into what you have to say about it. The fact that they're there, the three bigs, Phil, Sarah, Matt, that gives me tremendous confidence for a couple of things. One, we know that they're listening, and two, and this is where I think me and C really agree, and we're pointed on this. They know that this shit is legit. It is a big deal for a lot of people. C Money, how you feeling, brother? How was your Valentine's Day with the missus yesterday?
Oh man, it was phenomenal. Phenomenal. We went to a nice restaurant, a new one that we've never been to, and
Nice.
it was legit. It was legit worth the hype around our neck of the wood. It was very good. So, yeah, we had a great day. It was just nice. I didn't work. I just kind of stood at home and chilled with the wife. So we had a great
Nice.
time. Yeah. It
Excellent.
was a great day, man. But definitely excited for today. This is the the day that we've been waiting for. The day where we stop all the rumor bullshit, the rumor
Yeah.
rhetoric that's out there that somehow became fact. And I gotta tell you, I feel so much better about today because of yesterday. Holy shit. The fact that PlayStation came out and listen, I mean, we already known. I mean, we did a video on it. He came out once before and said it, but like now he was even more like pointed with it. Oh man. It just shows that whatever happens today is, I would say, something that is not only an Xbox thing if it's something that we don't really care to hear. Like I don't I still am of the mindset that none of the crazy shit that they were saying is gonna actually go down that way.
Yeah.
Um, but regardless of what happens after yesterday, I'm feeling good about today even more. Absolutely.
Well, look, we got a chance to have instead of your proper prime time gaming in the evening, because obviously I took the time off to spend with Mrs. Boom. We had a breaking news special where we covered this, myself, Hargeet, and Fuzzy Belvedere,
Fuzzy.
and we really went in on what this exactly means for Sony. And folks, I'm here to tell you that outside of the big three, the only one I can't see changing their ways, because, well, they don't need to. They are who we thought that they were. They've always been the same. And, well, that's Nintendo. Nintendo is going to release a console. People are going to buy it in droves. New games are going to be available at launch for said console. And we're thinking that it could be somewhere, it could be an F Zero. There could be a new 3D Mario. There could be Metroid Prime 4. There's supposedly a fourth title. Who knows if that's an Animal Crossing? Who knows if that is a new Mario Kart? Again, we don't know. They are going to do the traditional sell your box, sell your games A, B, and C. That's just what they are. See, everyone seems to change. Now, I'm not making excuses for Xbox. We're going to get into what we think is going to be said today. One of I think, the most important aspects of today's conversation, scene is the fact that Xbox Game Pass day and date cannot change. As a matter of fact, I would even dare say nothing about Xbox Game Pass needs to change. And if it does, understand that I'm going to really lay it down, because you sold us on this dream back in 2017 when it was just an infant, and you didn't even know if you were going to move forward with it, and it wasn't even day and date until 2018. And since then, everybody's financial station really doesn't matter, because most people, if you're only playing on console, can afford the $10 because you're getting all these games. Now, again, we have a lot to get into here. I do want to open up with this particular point because
Yeah.
it is a valid point. The one thing that I cannot hear from today's thing, I honestly, if games go to other places, you know what? Make your money. I'm going to be disappointed if we see a Halo on a PlayStation. I'm sorry. Listen, folks, I'm a dinosaur. I am console centric. Yes, I support all three, but I'll say this before getting into the main crux of what we're going to talk about. I don't know if it makes sense to have a God of War on an Xbox and a Master Chief on a PlayStation. I don't think that makes any sense. I think that consoles and their platforms need identity, and identity needs to be strong characters, whether that be male or female, it doesn't matter. It matters that each console has an identity that someone who sees a character can equate that character to the platform. That really can't change. But jumping back into the Game Pass situation,
Yeah.
Xbox, I'm talking directly to you. You raised it by $2, right? It was $14.99. Now it's $16.99. And most people, even though we don't like price increases, pretty much were like, it's okay, because if you look at what Sony is charging, they're charging you $18 a month, and you're not getting day and date unless it's Foam Stars, which no one is
Yep.
talking about. You know why they put it in there? Because no one gives a shit and no one's playing it. Sorry. That's just the way it is. See, I want to go to you immediately on this. I think that if the message is skewed in any way, that Game Pass as we know it, specifically with day and date for us, the consumer, changes, they might as well just burn down Xbox, because I don't think that's going to be an acceptable thing. You know, and if getting new subs is the problem, Xbox, I'm not a marketing manager, but you know what? Maybe you should give a more concerned effort to letting the normies know about this service, because normies, right, the ones that buy one or two, three games a year, they know about Netflix, they know about Paramount Plus, they know about Hulu, right? They know about Disney Plus. They know about all of these services that 5 years ago, having a streaming service was taboo. No one even had that. You had the HBO and Showtime. That's about all you had it back in the days. Now they need to put a more concentrated effort into letting the normies know about Game Pass. I mean, I don't think I'm wrong, but let's get your hot take on this.
So this is the thing. With Game Pass, obviously, Game Pass is essentially, like, let's just call it what it is, has become its own platform, right? Like,
Yes,
it's its
yes.
own thing that we all want to keep around, and we want it to be the same way, right? And I don't think we should have I don't think anything should change about the service itself. This is what I would say. If they need to regulate certain games to a certain tier of Game Pass. So for instance, Call of Duty, there's rumors, right? Which obviously we know the rumors are all bullshit, but just again, playing devil's advocate, rumors that they don't want to put it in Game Pass or they might be some nonsense like that. See, I rather them say, you know what, certain games are only in the ultimate tier.
Right.
Can't do it on the $10 pass. That's
Right.
just
And
gonna
I
be
think that's
that comes
fair.
later.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I think that makes business sense. All right. Now you're forcing people to pay more money, and that's going to, help with the margins in that sense. Um, but that makes sense to me. It has to every single game that Xbox does needs to be day and date in Game Pass. That just has to happen, and that cannot change. Um, so that's the biggest thing for me is making sure that doesn't change. And again, I'm okay if they have to do whatever they have to do to make that happen. Um, the only other thing is I know you had mentioned like not making sense to see Halo elsewhere. Absolutely not. But I do feel like Game Pass as a service, if PlayStation or Nintendo were opened with the idea of taking Game Pass as a
Yeah.
streaming service on their platforms,
Like an app, so to
like
speak.
an app,
Yeah.
right? That's just the streaming, just like when we go on your phone and you open the app or you know what I'm saying? Like if that is the case where they will accept a Game Pass on their platform and it's streaming only, not download, but streaming only, that that doesn't matter to me, right? Because if they're willing, if they own a PlayStation and are willing to subscribe to Game Pass, they could do that on their TV, they could do that on their computer, on a bootlegged shitty computer, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't need anything to subscribe to Game Pass outside of their phone, a crappy computer, or their TV for most people, right? Who have a decent TV. So that I have no problem with. If they go ahead and take Game Pass, put it elsewhere, then it is what it is. It's just another screen, right? And I think that's all the hoopla that's going on now with the she said every screen is an Xbox type deal at that supposedly at that
It's
meeting.
funny. Can I just jump in here for a hot
Yeah,
second
yeah, go
because
ahead, man. Go ahead, go ahead.
what you're talking about, I want to give some context to. Now this report that I'm going to read that cements what C is talking about comes the way of Andy Robinson of VGC. He actually is the one that posted this. He wrote the article. The headline, folks, says this: ahead of its business update, Microsoft reportedly told staff every screen is an Xbox. So let me just get into the actual quote here. Okay, so I'm going to read verbatim from the report. Obviously, this was again written by Andy Robinson of EGC. He says this, folks: a recent internal town hall meeting, which has been reported previously, saw Xbox president Sarah Bond proclaim that every screen is an Xbox, according to a new account by Inverse. Bond is then said to have discussed Xbox's strategy of existing on multiple kinds of devices and its greater ambitions of, quote, becoming the number one cross platform gaming company. Now, goes on to say this, folks. To illustrate the idea of Xbox on every screen, Bond, or Sarah Bond, reportedly showed images of breakout Xbox and PC hit Pal World running on tablets, TV screens, monitors, and handheld devices. And we have a quote here. It goes on to say, internally, employees expressed surprise at seeing so much Pal World and joked about the possibility of an Xbox handheld, which has also been rumored according to Inverse. So, by all means, please continue, C, because you were making a phenomenal point. But that is exactly what C Money is talking about.
Yeah, and then again, to be clear, all those other screens, right? It's strange for anyone to take that as if when they say all of these screens, they're talking TV, mobile, all this. It's very weird to take that as anything other than Game Pass, which Power World is on, and it's on over streaming as well. To take that as anything other than them showing you that Game Pass is going to be everywhere, so Xbox is everywhere because Xbox is Game Pass, right? So that didn't mean that they were gonna have the native games on PlayStation or anything like that. It's not. It also doesn't mean that it's not, but what the point is that you can't look at that and see that. What makes sense is when they're showing a TV, a tablet, a phone, and all this stuff, they're talking about streaming, right? They're talking about Game Pass being everywhere. Um, so yeah, I mean that is the biggest thing. I think we're gonna see the transition of Game Pass becoming even more of a focal point in their plans going forward, because Game Pass is really the answer to putting your, service elsewhere, putting your games elsewhere. Because you gotta remember, the idea of just porting over games, that might sound like, oh, that's nothing. That costs money, right? It costs money to port a game over to another console and not knowing whether anybody would ever want it on that console, right? So even on PlayStation side, I would imagine that they've been talking about getting their streaming together, right? I could see the same thing on the opposite end where they have a streaming service that might come over to our side. It might be a swap. I mean, who knows, right? Like we're going to get a lot of answers today. But I think it was very telling that PlayStation came out yesterday to say what they said and to announce it almost as if Phil and the team knew that yesterday was the day that Sony would be talking about it, and so they followed up the day after, and people were saying, "Oh, if it wasn't at the beginning of the week." Think about it. Now that we know what happened yesterday, now it makes sense why it wasn't at the beginning of the week, right? Because they know
Yeah.
what's going on. They know what's happening. And I could tell you right now, I'm sure you saw the Stein on Twitter,
I
right?
did. Yeah. Okay. So just frame that for the people that didn't.
Okay, so on Twitter, Stein posted a picture after all this stuff came out with PlayStation of a teacup, a big white
A big
teacup,
one. I mean, like
big,
like
huge white
this.
teacup. Yep, huge, being drunk by Tom Holland, Spider-Man. Okay. And he's looking up, right? Now, again, Stein, who works at Xbox,
And he is their social media
he's
guru.
the
Talk
guy.
about it,
That's what he
see.
does.
Talk
Okay.
about it.
He put that out. And I gotta tell you right now, if this was about Sony putting their games on PC, Stein would not be saying shit because it wouldn't matter, right? But what he did with that was say, look at all of you ponies and pony bots sitting there crying, worrying about us going elsewhere. Look who's going to be going everywhere. Sony.
Yeah, I mean, see, one of the things that I saw yesterday, the big pushback from the hooved hooligans as they're known, especially the ones that are just nasty, right? The ones that are out there not, and going extreme on console war by bringing up like personal shit about people because they're immature idiots. We're saying that, oh, just a second, boom, third party just means PC,
It
folks,
really doesn't.
folks. I'm here to tell you that I can come at this from two different angles and make you look like a boob. If this is what you're ringing. One, I can say, okay, you're going to PC only, but see that the door's open, the door is cracked, right? So when they start seeing money come in, like they're seeing right now from Helldivers 2, which is a freaking phenomenal game, they're going to be like, well, we don't have as much money as Microsoft. They're not leaving money on the table. Maybe we should not leave money on the table either. So that's how it starts. Second of all, when you said when people say third party, can someone show me in the dictionary where that is exclusive to PC? Since when? Third
Nope.
party means if there is a place to put your game that you're going to make money, well, that's where you're going to put your game. Now, I said this, and I honestly and truly mean this. See, I don't see a gaming world where a Master Chief is on PlayStation unless there's an Xbox Game Pass app or
Yep.
a Kratos or Uncharted on an Xbox. Now maybe it's because I'm a dinosaur and I can't just make that happen in my mind. Fine. What I can see coming over, and this to me is a no-brainer, and I'm not port begging, folks. I got a
Got so many
Spider-Man left,
games.
right, and center. But I'm telling you right now, do not that. Let me tell you something. This is a huge assumption, and I'm going to finish off exactly what C just said. Stein, who is the lead dog when it comes to social media and its presence for Xbox, you can take it however you want. The fact that he with nothing attached to it other than the picture of Tom Holland with this huge, as big as his head teacup, tells me that Spider-Man 2018 and Miles Morales are potentially being thought about by Sony because they're going to make money. Xbox players are going to buy it. I will double dip. I will buy it. I will beat it. I will get 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements. Spider-Man 2018, in my opinion, because I'm an Insomniac fan, is a masterclass title. Sorry if you don't agree. Same thing with Miles Morales. And Miles Morales, I found to be, for me, even more important because I had an emotional attachment to that game. Where I said this before, and I'm not ashamed to say it, that opening scene with his family in that house is exactly what looked like my abuela's house. Exactly like that during the holidays. Dude, I was crying because my she's been gone for years. But and since she's been gone, we've never had a Christmas Eve like we used to have because she kept everyone down. She kept it tight. And that scene made me cry like a baby. That's why I love that game. And I'm not even ashamed to say that. So don't get on your high horse or your pony, if you will, and think that your sacred cows cannot come over. Because listen, I'm here to tell you folks, if you don't think that these companies are trying to, like, remember back in the day, see, when you used to flip baseball cards? Remember that? And used to trade cards? Don't think that Sony isn't talking to Microsoft and Microsoft isn't talking to Sony. They are.
Yes.
I am telling you, and they're not getting Microsoft games for the price of free. There's something happening in there. Again, this is just a huge assumption, but I'm putting it out there because C brought it up, and he brought up a great
True.
point about Stein putting that stuff
Fine.
out there. I mean, we don't know, and I'm not
And
port begging.
well, I mean, and also let's be clear, right? I think the funny crap about all of this is that, like, we have Phil, we have Matt Booty, we have
Mhm.
Sarah to come out, right? They are acting as if over on the PlayStation side, as if they have the same or the equivalent. They don't. You know what they have the
No.
equivalent of? They have the equivalent of Tim Stewart running PlayStation right now.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
The money man is running PlayStation. And he hasn't even officially it hasn't even started. It's April that he's supposed to start, right? But he's already being the face of it. He's already letting them know what's gonna happen,
Yep.
right? He's already setting the tone. He went out there, he said, yes, you guys are creatively can make a great game, but you guys don't know what the F to do with the business of this. I mean, that's just the reality of what he said. Um, and you again, it's crystal clear. He is about putting everything everywhere, just like Tim Stewart. You heard Tim Stewart say PlayStation, Nintendo, right? The difference is we have Phil, Matt, and Sarah to say, Tim, shut the fuck. Like, that's not happening, bro. Like,
Shut the front
fall
door.
back. Shut the front door. Stop talking out of turn. We are not going to be doing that. And we have somebody to fight for us, to fight against the money people, to sit there and be like, nah, we can't do that to our fans or whatever the case is. Whereas on that side, they have no one. Okay. Their guy is Tim Stewart, and he can do whatever he wants. And that is what is happening. And honestly, listen, we've been saying it forever. If you've been hearing us here or you've been following me on our podcast, PlayStation is dying. You can say what you want about how much money they make. That's short term. That doesn't matter. Long term is the issue. And you just saw right now, this dude came out here and said they have 0 games.
For the next
0.
13 to 14 months, dude.
Understand, it's not just 2024. It's into probably halfway through 2025 before you have a chance to have a PlayStation first party game. That's asinine.
April of 2025, because and I say April, not March, because March 2025 is when their fiscal year starts.
Mm.
So April of
So,
2025 is when they're expected to have a AAA quote unquote banger, as the kids like to say.
of course.
We are
And
money. See, money. Could you help me out over here? Because I'm old, right? I'm gonna be
sure, sure, sure,
54.
sure.
Maybe I don't know the dates or everything. Are we still in February? Yeah, today's February 15th, 2024. I'm just
Yo,
saying.
it's facts. It's facts. And this is the thing. Listen, I know uh the people don't want to think that PlayStation can't go away, right? Oh, they're not going to go away. No, no, no. Okay, listen, the only way they're not going away is if Xbox does what the people are claiming they're going to do and helps them stay alive, okay? And if Xbox
You're talking about
does
like
what
the
they
Apple
did
situation
with
all those years
Apple,
ago.
yeah, what they did with Apple, if they do that with Sony, that's the only way. You know why? Because the dollars don't make sense. Sony cannot compete dollar-wise. They told you, Matt Booty told you we're going to spend them out of business. Then they denied that that was true, and then they bought ABK for 70 billion or 80 billion, all done, right? Understand, PlayStation just said, I can't even release a game this year. How many times are you going to be able to go a year without releasing anything? And I'm not talking about 3 years ago. I'm talking about in every year where Xbox is gonna be releasing 4, 5, 6, 7 bangers every single year. How can you compete? Understand, we're not talking about the old Xbox that had Halo, Gears, and Forza that the people who are in PlayStation don't care about, or they chose not to care about it from the get-go. You're talking about Bethesda, who are releasing games that they desperately want to have. You're talking about ABK, who's gonna be releasing games that they desperately want to have. That is the scenario they're in. Now, again, the only lifeline they will have is if Xbox chooses to save them. Putting games on their console will be Xbox saying, we don't want to lose a competitor like they did with Apple. That is what they would be doing if the games show up elsewhere. And it's them saving PlayStation's ass because they cannot compete with the amount of games that are going to be coming out on Xbox. That's just fact. And if you are a gamer and you love playing games, their only box that makes sense to have, if you can only have one, is the one that's giving you more games, more high quality games. Not one, oh, Last of Us 3 coming out next year, whatever the hell. Oh, okay, cool. Beat that. What's next? Oh, well, you got to wait another year to see if we get something else. What are you talking about? It's one big one a year at their pace now. They went from 2 to 1 to 0, right? So we know Wolverine is 2026. So what do they have?
And that's if it doesn't get delayed, because you got to remember, dude,
Facts.
Venom, right? The Venom game that was supposed to be like a Miles Morales sized game, which would be dope. And again, if you're a Marvel nerd like me, the storyline with Venom, the Lethal Protector, was freaking awesome. So if that's what they're going to do, and they're going to put their Insomniac spin, sign me the F up right now. I'm in. But the problem is that because all of these things leaked, especially what leaked with Wolverine and the assets, they're
Yep.
not going to be able to use them. They're going to have to change code on everything. So if they have to change code, which of course they are, that may
Might as well just
delay the
make an
game
Xbox
6 months, unless they're making that. Well, there is an Xbox version on PC running around. There is,
That's
but
right. That's right.
there's
That's right.
there unfortunately that leak kind of really was a dagger into the side of Insomniac Games. For not that the game's going to be bad, not the game's going to be like canceled. They're going to be slightly delayed, 6 months at the minimum, 12 months at the maximum, because of all that code that's out there. They can't use that, right? So Insomniac, as we know, is one of the premier studios for Sony's first party, and they've been carrying the PlayStation for years, right? Like we don't know what some of the other ones are doing. We don't know what Sony Bend is doing. We don't know what Sony Santa Monica is doing. We have no idea what Naughty Dog is up to, and they have quite a few other really fantastic studios that have been quiet. We don't know what's happening, but I can tell you this though. Again, bringing VGC back up into the conversation because obviously I love giving credit where credit is due. Once again, Andy Robinson posted an article yesterday. See, and you want to talk about some. If you are a diehard PlayStation fan, you should have some concerns because this is coming from the COO Hiroki Totoki, who is the interim head dude for PlayStation, right? He's
CEO. Wow.
COO for Sony proper, but he has taken over PlayStation after Jim Ryan was fired, released, let go, retired, whatever you want to say. This is what Andy Robinson had to say. PlayStation's new chairman says its studios need to improve when it comes to business. You should be concerned, obviously,
Yep.
because that's coming from him. So let me read verbatim from the article. PlayStation's new chairman and Sony's current president was asked for his early assessment working directly with the games business during an earnings call on Wednesday. He told listeners he believes its studios can improve when it comes to business. It continues. Sony president, COO, and CFO Hiroki Totoki assumed the role of chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment in October, ahead of CEO Jim Ryan's retirement from April 1st. Totoki will act as interim CEO of SIE, sharing his initial impressions from his first 4 months working directly with SIE. The executive said he had made a point to attend a management meeting and visit PlayStation's games development studios to get a better understanding of the business. The Sony president said that while he was impressed with the motivation and creativity of the studio's workers, he believed, and I quote, there was room for improvement when it came how they invest money and plan development schedules in order for the overall business to achieve its goals. Listen, folks, I'm not ringing the alarm bell. You know, I'm happy to support PlayStation. I bought Helldivers 2. I bought Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. I'm gonna play them both. But I think that if you're going into today talking about that it's gonna be doom and gloom for Xbox, and we're hearing from the three bigs, the ones that speak to us on a regular basis, I think you're sadly mistaken. And I think that the angle that I'm coming at this see is the fact that this shit is so serious about the how Xbox and the community reacted to some of this. Again, it was all rumors, and a lot of the insiders walked some stuff back, right?
Mhm.
It was so serious, see, that they had to the three of them had to gather together to let us know what's going on. And I think that should give you calm. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, this is the thing. Where did PlayStation come out to let their people know what the plan is?
Oh,
Because from what
they didn't see.
they didn't. They had a conversation with non-gamers to let them know that this is what they're gonna be doing, right? Where we have Phil, again, coming out, if it's not the news that people don't wanna hear, that I don't wanna hear, right? Coming out and with Sarah, with Matt Booty, coming out to deliver that news, right? And to make it make sense, whatever it is. Why? Because they give a shit. They could have put it in a blog post. They could have just had some article go up or tweet it out, but they're going to come on a podcast where there's going to be a discussion and things are going to be explained. This is like I don't get where like they could be spoon fed this information and they still will deny anything going on over there at Sony. Like, they wanna play stupid, like they don't understand. Everybody's been telling them. Jim Ryan went out there and said to you, PlayStation dude, who's still trying to deny this shit, who still tries to act like we're the crazy ones because we're telling you what's actually happening. Jim Ryan said you weren't enough, my man. He told you that. Tell me one time Phil came out and said that we were not enough. Oh, I remember. Actually, he did the opposite. When he was asked, uh, "Don't you think you need a PlayStation for Starfield to be successful?" He said instantaneously, without thinking twice, "Absolutely not. No, no, we do not need PlayStation. We do not need them." But Jim Ryan told you that you are not enough. I need you guys to just accept the shit that's been saying. But this is the thing, right? Their CEO came out and said this. Where are all the articles? Obviously, you got this one, right? This is the one that you're reading off, right? He's just reporting it, right? But where's the people looking to dig?
Are you
Where's
talking
the
about the
people looking
IGNs
for
of
the
the
rumors?
world?
Oh, yeah, the IGNs, the GameStops,
Nowhere
where
to be
are they
found.
digging?
Yep.
Where are they sitting there? Well, I heard from my sources, like, you don't talk to people at Sony, right? You have people who
Mhm.
literally worked at IGN who worked at Sony, but you have no no inside information ever, right? Uh, where are the people digging? Say, well, I heard this. Well, I heard these games are coming. Oh, what's going on? Nothing, right? Because that's the way it is. And that feeds into the pony narrative that they don't think anything's happening because they don't sit there and read a million fucking articles that are made up bullshit. Dude, you literally had people in panic because you said Starfield is coming to PlayStation, and then a few days later, you walk the whole thing back and say, actually, it was never gonna come. It was all bullshit. I don't know how. Like,
Yeah.
what are we what are we doing here, right? What we're doing is propagating bullshit against Xbox on a consistent basis that leads these ponies to be delusional because they think nothing's going to happen to their precious box. Bro, the box is not going to exist. There's no need. And I'm not saying at some point Xbox won't either. Listen, they're going to get to the point where they're going to try to democratize gaming just like movies and music. Okay? That's just fact. At some point or another, this is going to happen. They're going to make it a battle of services, not a battle of the box. At some point, this is what's going to happen. Okay. Yes, you can still go buy DVDs or Blu-rays or 4K, but guess what? Stores are pulling out. They don't even want those things in their stores anymore. You got to accept that at some point this is going to happen. The question is, what form is this going to take for Sony? Because unfortunately, these games cost too much money. That's what he was saying when he said they don't understand the business. You can't make a $500 million game that you know is only going to sell 200 million worth or less, right?
Yeah.
You know what
No,
I'm
no,
saying?
it's a
Like
good
that is what he's talking about.
yeah, and it's a good point because again, yesterday, Insomniac announced that they have sold 10 million copies of Spider-Man 2, which is
Since
phenomenal.
October, but it's
Right.
phenomenal in a bubble. Then you look at Power World that sold 20 million in 2 weeks, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you say to yourself, hold on, there's 50 million PlayStation 5s. How did it take October, November, December, January, February, 5 months to do 10 mil? I thought these people were itching for these games. I thought they were
I mean,
so
and
pumped for them.
another piece of context to that point, the one thing that we don't know, right? That we don't have any data on, and I'm waiting for like the Benji sales of the world, who's phenomenal with the numbers. Get out there. How many of the 10 million games that were purchased were full price purchases, meaning
They came bundle,
7643,
bro.
right? We
They
don't
came bundle.
know. They bundled everything. So again, the bundles were like, I think, it would have been like $20 off. It was like $50 for the game technically versus 7643 if you're here in New York. And then of course that obviously, brings down the monies. I am going to say this, FYI, Spider-Man 2 cost $315 million to make. And one of the things that we did learn from the leaks is that in most cases, Sony, Sony proper, spends as much in advertising as they do in what the game costs. And we were talking about this yesterday. Hargeet was like, please don't tell me they spent over 200 or $300 million on marketing for Spider-Man. And they must have because it was everywhere. I mean, it was Venom was on the Sphere in Las Vegas a couple of times. So they spent the money. I mean, I'm not a
Yep.
marketing guy. What the hell do I know? But I could just say that if that's the case, they're gonna have to sell more than 10 million at full price to make their money back.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's the problem, right? PlayStation, you can't change their bank account, okay? Like, this is just the reality. You can't, okay? And for them to put out a assortment of games in a year that are all at that level does not make sense for them. They can't do it, right? They can't do it because they can't give you something else next year. If they do the same year we have this year for Xbox, the 4 big games we got coming out, if they mimic that on PlayStation, you wouldn't get another first party exclusive for 4 years because they would have shot their
Yeah.
load.
Mhm.
And they would have released them all. Where next year we're gonna have 4 plus more games coming that are big from Xbox. How can PlayStation keep up with those numbers? They don't have that many studios, and frankly, they only have so many of consequence, right? Nobody cares about these new studios that they bought that have proven nothing to no one ever. They've never made a game, and somehow we're hyping up a game that they like people are thinking that these games are gonna be good. You have no idea. Never in their lives have they come all together and release a game. They might have done them separately, but they haven't released them on their own. And look at where we are. Like, what else are they gonna come out? Now, listen, I can appreciate Helldivers 2 that people have been playing it. I know you've been playing it. I know
Yeah.
people haven't been enjoying it, right? It looks very nice on PC, for sure, graphically. That being said, I have no desire to purchase that game or play that game, and I don't think I'm alone with it, and that's why you see that those concurrents, everybody was pumped about the concurrents, and then it's like, "Oh, okay, that's gonna just stay right there. It's not gonna be a Power World. It's not gonna be anything huge." And the reason I don't is because all those clips, I've watched games that I had no intention of buying, like, Baldur's Gate 3, okay? And all the clips that were out there, all the people talking about it, I had so much FOMO because it looks so amazing, all the different stuff. I was like, "Alright, I'm gonna do it," okay? Whereas this game, I see a bunch of people putting clips, and it's all the same looking shit. How many times are you gonna drop a nuke on the same thing? How many times are you gonna show me all the things? How many times are you gonna dive off that thing? What are we talking about here? A game that I'm gonna play for what, right? A couple days and then done? That doesn't intrigue me. That doesn't make me excited for that type of game, right? So as cool as it is, if you want to spend the money, dope. I mean, I'm sure you'll have fun with it when you're playing it, but you're not going to stay with it. That's just the reality. When something dope comes out, you're going to drop that shit like a bad habit, and it's gone. And yeah, you got your enjoyment out of it, but for me, it's not worth it. And I don't think I'm alone with that, right? I think there's a lot of people who feel that way. I mean, where's the sales numbers from it? You know what I'm saying? Where did PlayStation come
A
out
lot
and
of people
say
wanna know where
anything?
the reviews are for it, for the most
Well
part. I
well,
mean,
that's a whole
that's
different discussion, by
yeah.
the way, because fuck them for going ahead and talking all this shit about Suicide Squad. Why? You
Yeah, it
made
was
all
again,
this crap,
it's
but if it's
mm,
PlayStation,
yeah.
no worries. Foam Stars and Helldivers didn't
Yep.
have anything at
Well, they
launch.
didn't give the media didn't get review
They didn't
codes
give
for
codes.
those, and
Yeah.
it was
Where
perfectly,
was the
it was yeah,
crying?
it's alright, it's fine. Don't worry
It's
about it.
okay because it's
We'll get to
PlayStation,
it.
right?
It's okay. Yeah.
Come on,
Mhm.
man. Yo, oh,
Well,
that's right. Somebody said, it sold 1,000,000. That's right. Thank you, Rashad. 1,000,000 copies.
I was one of the
Come
sales.
on,
I was happy to buy it,
come on,
honestly. Yeah, but,
boom.
you know,
1,000,000? 1,000,000. Steam, 50,000,000 PlayStations, 100 something million computers.
what's
A
interesting?
1,000,000 copies sold? Come on, man. Let's stop. 1,000,000 doesn't mean anything when it comes out of PlayStation's mouth. It doesn't.
Well, again,
It's it's too little.
I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do know that of those concurrents, most of the players, like 70-ish% were on
On Steam.
PC on Steam.
Yeah.
A lot of PlayStation players who obviously pound their chest about exclusives didn't buy this.
Didn't
I'm a
even
bot,
buy it, dude.
and I bought it,
Exactly.
and I
You know,
didn't
all my
I didn't even
timeline is mostly Xbox dudes who are playing this game,
yeah, and I'm
which
not.
is
And you know what's
crazy.
crazy? I didn't even cheap out and get the $40 edition. I bought the $60 edition, which is fine, not a problem.
Listen,
And then when I
you gotta
went
enjoy it.
into
You
the
helped out.
game, I said this yesterday. I got the coin things. I spent $10 and I bought an outfit. But that's who I am. I'm not a whale per se. I don't spend
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars, but I was like, yeah, that outfit is dope. Looks like a stormtrooper. I'm getting it.
Yep.
and I bought it, and I'm happy to to support, but not all the PlayStation guys think that way. But look, what I want to do is I want to catch up on super chats. I want to run a quick ad that I have here for the Valari gaming pillow, but I do want to get into what our expectations are. What do they need to tell us as
Yeah.
Xbox fans? And because the three people that are going to be there normally are are considered the talking heads, I expect very positive messaging. I expect very clear and concise messaging. We'll get to that in a second. But J Mac drops the first super chat of the day. J Mac, welcome back, brother, and thank you so much for the outstanding $5 super chat. And he says the funny thing about all of this is once this show ends, regardless of the decisions of Microsoft and what they make, no one's life is going to change. Hashtag Xbox World Order. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to lose any like sleep over this. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. Thanaros drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, where is the change in Game Pass coming from? Thanaros, listen, brother, it's not coming from me personally. This is the kind of talk that's out there on the socials. I'm not saying it's going to happen. What I'm saying is that it can't happen. Um, it it is what it is. Ultimate Game Pass Ultimate, which is what I'm subscribed to, needs to be exactly in the wording. It needs to be the Ultimate Edition, meaning that everything goes in there day and date. That includes Call of Duty as well. The change that we were referring to is the talk, not logistically from us, but the talk out there is the concern out there is that there's going to be some sort of a change to the day and date methodology, and I that can't happen. I'm sorry. That's where that came from. Highlander 001, who's been a tremendous, generous member of the community, has gifted folks 5 more Double Barrel Gaming memberships. Dude, that is crazy generous of you folks. If you did get one of them, please, by all means, thank him in the chat because his generosity seems to have no bounds. Jay Slay drops a very generous $2 super chat, and he says this same thing. Hey, Boom, where did the Game Pass rumors start? It's not from anybody, folks. It's just the kind of the talk that's going out there. C Money has seen it all. So again, this is just it is what it is. Is it going to happen? I just putting it out to the ether that no change. And as a matter of fact, if you listen to the yesterday's show, Hargeet had the same concern. No change to Xbox Game Pass can happen. That if there's one constant out of this thing, that has to be it. Rocket Scientist drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, hello, Boom, NC Money. Let's do this. No mustard hearts. Indeed, no mustard hearts
Facts.
here. And mustard hearts made famous by, of course, King David, as many things have been. Hold the Line specifically is King David charging tagline, if you will. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat, and he says, I wouldn't be shocked if they announced more TV manufacturers supporting Xbox Cloud gaming app, plus new controllers revealed during the podcast. I mean, it's definitely possible. I know that they're currently working with the two big ones, which of course is LG and Samsung. I would imagine that it makes sense to put it on all the other TVs, but we'll see. That's a pretty fine point, Michael. JJ saying 117 drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says consoles are becoming obsolete, but handhelds, PC, mobile, and cloud are the future. Microsoft and Sony know this. Apple, Tencent, etc., are the competitors. Indeed, they are. But listen, folks, as you know, again, this is a very small show. We're not even at 15K yet. We're on the hunt. We get offers to partner with people or companies looking to sell their wares. One of the things that we are very, very particular about is selling something that we would never sell you something that I don't myself wouldn't use. Again, I get all kinds of requests to partner up to sell controllers and all kinds of stuff. And unless it's a brand that I know that I'll use, I'm not selling you stuff. Well, that's where the Valari gaming pillow comes into play because they reached out to us at the end of last year. And it is a gaming pillow. No, like gaming pillow. Yeah, I don't know so much about that. So I was bold And the owner of the company, again, it's a mom and pop organization, just like Double Barrel Gaming. They reached out to me and I boldly said, listen, I can't sell your product unless I try it. I said, well, let us send you one. So they did. They sent me one. And, as someone, and listen, I put it out there into the ether, that my career was cut short as a New York City police officer because I had a massive back surgery. And after 21 years, I just couldn't do it anymore. And they were right to tell me that because I just couldn't. So when I got the gaming pillow and I started using it, I said, wait a second, this thing actually works. It actually fixes your posture without you thinking about it. Because most of us stay hunched over with the controller in our lap. And that's how we play. The Volare gaming pillow keeps you straight up and your hands are rested in front of you, and it actually works. And the one that I use is not even the one that they sent me. I use the one that I was gifted by King David of the Iron Lords, and it's their branded pillow, and it's dope. It's black gold. It's got the gold trim. It's really good. So after using it and they wanted to partner up, we decided to do that. So of course, anytime I need any artwork done, I had Sean Labrie make this commercial. It's 35 seconds. And if you do decide to buy a pillow, you can use the code DBG15 at checkout and you'll save 15% off your entire order. So just again, 35 seconds in and out. Check out the commercial. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is the commercial. Again, if you want to check out, you can go right into the show notes. The link for the Volare Gaming Pillow is there. All you have to do is use the code DBG at 15 at checkout, and you'll save 15% off of your entire order. So, see, Money, I want to go right to you.
Yeah, man.
This podcast, which is obviously pre-recorded, is happening in a couple of hours. It is going to, I would imagine, reveal and quash any questions or concerns an Xbox customer and fan should have. The question that I have for you, and I'm going to throw this out to the chat. And by the way, we got 1,100 people here, which is amazing. Thank you so much for
I love
checking
to
out
hear,
the
man.
show.
That's what I love to hear.
What as an Xbox customer slash fan do they need to say to you to clarify what their business or their Xbox business is going to look like moving forward?
I mean, I just want them to be extremely clear
Mhm.
with what they're saying. I don't want like wiggle room answers. You know what I'm
Ah,
saying?
smart.
I
Yep.
want I want there to be whatever is said is definitive. No types of, well, he said this, but it really meant this, or if he said this, but potentially it could be like I just want them to come out, be clear with whatever they're doing, right? Listen, I'm Xbox through and through. Nothing's gonna change that. No matter what happens today, I'm not. There's no like, oh my god, all these weak ass people. Oh my god, I can't believe the people who threw away their Xbox or sold their Xbox or changed the name of their shows. It's embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's embarrassing that you did that. Like, come on, man. Um, so as far as I'm concerned, nothing is gonna, you know, ruin Xbox for me. But that being said, again, has to be very clear. I don't want to hear anything about our games going over there native. I don't. I just don't want it. And we'll see what that is. You know, again, I I go based off of the information that we've had up until this point, and everything that is factually out there, not the rumors, but every factual piece of, written word that we have, every word that was said out of their mouths leads me to believe that that is not the situation. Again, caveat, Satya said the only reason that we do exclusives is because the competition does exclusives. Now, yesterday's, you know, the what PlayStation did yesterday adds a wrinkle, right? Because for all intents and purposes, PlayStation is going third party. So if
Yep.
they're going to be releasing their games everywhere, then it would make sense if Satya says we're going to do this because of what they're doing, right? Like that would make sense at that point. Um, you know, I'm still of the belief though that that's not gonna happen anytime soon. If even if that were the case, even if they said, "Hey, they're going third party, so we're gonna do it," because frankly, PlayStation doesn't have any games coming, so there's nothing to bring over here of value to us, when we have all these new games coming out, right? So I will say, just playing devil's advocate, we had Joey on our show from WBG from We Bleed Green podcast.
Mhm.
Her him and a guest, and he has a pretty cool idea as to labels, right? So I think the biggest concern is that if games are in fact going to be going elsewhere, which again, I don't think it's going to be. But if they were in fact going elsewhere, I think the biggest killer of the idea would be for Xbox is if they're doing some games elsewhere and some games are not, right? It will make it so that every single time a new game is announced, it'll be, "Oh, well, this is good. This is probably coming over here. Ha ha ha."
Yeah,
Right?
that
Like
would be the thing being held over the head is, again,
always.
they'll, and again, I think you're onto something. See, and that's the problem. If I'm not saying that some games can't go. We know Sea of Thieves are going, we know Pentiment is going, and we know that Hi-Fi
Theoretically.
Rush is going.
Theoretically, this have
Yeah,
not
well,
been announced.
theoretically, you're right. That is what
Nothing
that is
has been
the
announced.
rumor. But
The
C
rumor
Money
is these
does
things
make
are
a great
happening.
point here, folks. And I think that I don't know how you fix this, for honestly, but every time a game is released, there's always going to be the stigma of, well, is that coming? Instead of the game looks so dope that it's the greatest thing your eyeballs have ever seen. Like, my God, I can't believe this is amazing. That won't be the crux of the conversation, C Money. The crux will be, is it coming to PlayStation?
Exactly.
That is that is the fine razor's edge that they're walking specifically on this particular cast.
Agreed. And this is the thing. So what Joey came up with, which I really liked, again, worst case scenario, if all the crap that we don't want to be true is true, right? I love the idea of bringing back the only on Xbox label from back in the OG days of Xbox. They had that yellow stamp only on Xbox,
Yep.
right? So basically, the way he phrased it, which I liked, is the idea of having the only on Xbox, meaning your Halo, whatever games that are never going to leave the platform, no matter what, you put the stamp on it when they announce it. Or one of somebody in the chat when we were talking about it brought this one up, but it's a dope tag, first on Xbox, right? So you put a first on Xbox if it's going to be something that the game comes here first, and then eventually at some point in time will go elsewhere, first on Xbox. And then
I like it.
no label,
Yeah.
no label if the game is just going to be a game like uh Call of Duty, right? There won't be a label on it because it's going
It's
elsewhere no
third
matter what.
party anyway. Yeah.
A new Minecraft is not going to have a label on it because it's going somewhere else, right? No matter what, right? So like that way, if they went ahead and did that, um, I think that would be a at least a solid way of stopping the shit narrative that would exist every time they release something new. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
every time they show a new game, if they just make it clear on the actual, stage or whatever it is, at the end, only on Xbox,
Yep.
first on Xbox, and then just don't say anything because you don't need to promote the other place that is going to be, right? So you just don't say anything if it's a
It's
game
just gonna
going
be third
elsewhere.
party, so you kind of already know. Here's a question to add to this. The because first of all, great point of contention. I think that I loved the only on Xbox because it was stamped right on the front of the
Yep, it was
box,
so dope.
and you knew exactly that this was an Xbox only game. I do like the ideology of first on Xbox because again, that would answer the question without even having to be asked whether or not this is going to come to other platforms. Here's the question though, and this is for the chat as well. How long should that exclusivity be? And should that only be the Bethesda games and the and games from Activision? Because again, I'm a dinosaur. I understand where my faults lie, folks. I don't think Xbox first party games have any business being on a PlayStation. I understand, again, I'm the dinosaur here, but I think that there is something, and I'm going to drive this point home, see money. Brand identity matters. I understand it doesn't matter where you're going to play. You play on your computer, you play on your tablet, you play on your phone, you play on
Yes.
your Samsung or the box that you bought. I get all of that. But there has to be a line in the sand that cannot be crossed when it comes to brand identity. And that brand identity comes by the characters or the powerful characters that you have in your stable, no pun intended.
Facts. Agreed 100%. And that's what I think it's gonna be the most important part of all this. Um, they have to keep something that's going to make Xbox still be Xbox. But then again, when you go and you start thinking about again the democratization of it, where you go
Yes.
and all of a sudden it's like Netflix, it's like these other places. All of a sudden, it doesn't matter where the box is. They get rid of the most, you know, expensive part of it for them and just focus on their biggest profit driver, which is their services and their games. I mean, that's why it all doesn't like at that point, if they were gonna do all this shit, then just get rid of the box, bro. Like just get rid of it and just go all in on being everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Just put it up and just let it be. That's why I can't believe it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why it doesn't like if you're still going to be making boxes, you're wasting money. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
Well, that's
wasting
what everyone
money.
was concerned about is the box going away. And folks, I'm here to tell you again, you heard it for yourself. First of all, you heard it first on XNC with the Mag and Colt Eastwood. And then following that, the 2 days later, you heard him come on to my show, Primetime Gaming, and confirm that not only do they have this standard underneath the TV box, but they have a handheld hybrid coming out, and both of them are going to be digital only. You also found out on my show, thanks to Mag, that there is going to be a separate disk drive that you can buy that you plug in and you can use your discs, which I think is brilliant. I think Sony's doing that right now with, of course, that addition you can add to your PlayStation. But I think you're onto something. The message needs to be clear. It needs to be concise. It needs to be focused. And I think they really kind of need to drive the point home of what an exclusive means to Xbox moving forward.
I agree. 100%. It just has to be clear.
Yeah.
Whatever's happening has to be clear. Again, though, I don't see the scale that people have been talking happening or being a possibility anytime in the near future. It just doesn't make any sense. They have too much going on. They have too much leverage at this point to throw it away.
Yeah, I
I just
agree.
don't see it. I just don't see it.
Especially
Like
when you
you
consider, again, see money, you brought it up, brother, and I got to give you credit where credit is due. After what we heard yesterday from PlayStation not having a first party AAA banger for what it appears to be 12 to 14 months from
Yep,
now, that's a freaking problem. Listen, you can sell all the consoles you want. They're not making money on the consoles. They're making a pinch of money. Where they make their money is on the software. And if you don't
yep,
have
and the
software to
services.
sell, well, there you go.
Agreed. I mean, that's really what it is. It's just the time doesn't make sense. They're the only console that's going to be producing AAA games in this coming year. I mean, this is just the reality of where we are.
Yep.
Like, why would you throw that away? People have not. You haven't even given. Like, people don't even know that you own ABK. You don't even know. They don't even know about Call of Duty and the fact that it'll be coming to Game Pass and all that other shit. Like, they don't even know yet, right? You have to let that happen. You have to take advantage of the purchase first before you literally put yourself as if you might as well just have put money into ABK, right? Why own them? Just invest in them if they were going to do the same thing, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's the biggest thing between what people said. And let's be clear, like, rumors are just rumors. I don't care who says them, right? Like, there's no level of person that could say a rumor that is 100% guaranteed to be true. Everybody that you think has been, oh my God, they said this, they've been wrong in the past, right? So I don't care how 100% they say, because again, Starfield was 100% going to go until 3 days later when he's like, "Oh, I take it back. My information was wrong and it was never going to go and it was just bullshit being spread around." Right? Like, you can't sit here and go ahead on it. Now, obviously, we love rumors, right? I'm not saying rumors can't exist, right? We love to hear a good rumor. I would love to hear that, the new Halo is going to be coming out in 2025 or 2026 or some crazy shit like that. Like, I would love to hear all those fun rumors, right? But what I don't like is when they're rumors that are going to be a detriment to the fan base, without any actual, like, a commit, like 100% confirmation. If it's going to be detrimental, like, don't try to act like 100%. Like, just don't. Like, just look what happened with Starfield. They literally acted as if it 100% was going to happen, and then it was not 100% going to
In
happen.
7 days, it turned around and went
Yeah,
from guaranteed to be on PlayStation to
yeah,
wait a second, I'm going to walk it back. Yes. Yeah.
that's exactly what happened. And that's why, like, on our channel, we don't believe in any of the bullshit. Not that we can't see a world where it happens. We don't believe it to be true because it has not been spoken to us by the people who can tell us that it's true. Listen, we again, if you go based off of everything that was said, look, we knew that there was going to be consoles because Xbox told us. They leaked it
Yeah.
to us. Phil has said on there that
Mhm.
a console still matter to them. It's still in their pipeline. There's still going to be another one. Like, we didn't need freaking a rumor to tell us that. We already knew. But the problem is that people don't want to listen when Phil and the team says shit. They ignore it. They ignore it. The only time they listen is when it's negative news. If it's negative news, the world won't stop listening about Xbox.
Yeah.
Same thing on the PlayStation side. If it's negative news, they don't want to hear it. Nobody pays attention. It's gone. Positive news, the world stops to listen to PlayStation's positive news and amplifies it like it's some amazing shit. And I'm a hypocrite because I love Apple, right? I love Apple, but Apple does this shit to Android all the time, right? Android does these amazing things, and then Apple shows up later and is like, "Yo, look at what we're doing. We're amazing." And it's like, oh my God, all this credit to Apple. Fuck the fact that Samsung and Android has been making it for years. That doesn't matter. It doesn't exist until Apple does it. Listen, we know Xbox has been the leader for a
Yeah.
long
They
time
sure
now.
have. Yep.
It's been the leader for a long time. And I know if you're a pony, you're sitting there butthurt. No, man, Sony hasn't done shit. All Sony has done is found a way to make games that people like and found a way to not make money on said games. Okay. They make their money on third party games that are released, and they make their money on the microtransactions. Don't come at me about, oh, it's play. No, if everybody chose tomorrow that Xbox was the casual box that they chose to buy, then PlayStation would be done. That is the fact. The PlayStation of today would not have existed and survived through the Xbox 360 era. I could tell you right now. If
Yeah.
this PlayStation was the one that was competing against Xbox 360, they would not have survived. They could not, because they all the market share was towards Xbox. The third party games were played on Xbox. PlayStation, that's what they survive on now. Nobody buys their games. And when I say nobody, I'm talking about compared to how many people have the ability to buy these games, not many people buys their first party games. That's just the fact of what it is.
Yeah. No,
Again,
it's the truth. It is the truth.
dude, It's the reality of what it is,
The
right?
numbers don't
I
lie
just
either.
They don't. And you can see that at the end of the day, with them coming out yesterday, saying what they said, putting all that out there, they could give 3 shits what you feel as a PlayStation fan. They don't care, right? It doesn't matter to them. They just wanna let everybody know that our games are going elsewhere. They even slandered PlayStation. Sony slandered PlayStation, saying they don't understand business. What a slap to the face that is. Like, yo, yeah, they could make a game, but they don't understand that you can't just spend money on something that's not gonna bring the return back. They don't understand it, and we've been saying it for a long time. This is not the way for them. And again, we'll see what happens today. I'm very, very excited to hear what Phil, Matt, and Sarah are going to tell us, because whatever they say, that is what we're going to react to.
Yes,
That
and
is what we're going to be so pumped about or so pissed about, because they said
but at
it,
least
not
we know
randoms.
indefinitely, right? Exactly what it is. No rumors.
Exactly.
No,
No
no,
rumor
no,
bullshit.
no. I heard this, hanging out by the water cooler. Actual facts, whether it's good or bad, we're going to react to it. Obviously, I know that you're going to be doing a show. I'm getting out of the way of everyone. I'm not doing a show covering it. We're going to cover it in full tomorrow on Breakfast with Boom. That is our Friday morning show, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be covering it there. See Money, we're going to get all of your info on where people can subscribe to the channel. More importantly, where you're going to be in a couple of hours. Let me get these super chats and we'll get everyone out of here.
Sir.
J Mac drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. And he says, if you're an Xbox fan, nothing they say is going to change. That is this business. Our feelings don't matter as much as we want them to. That's a fair point, J Mac. Rich Mahog drops a very generous $25 super chat. And he says, off the subject, I've been struggling. Okay, off of the subject, but I've been struggling with loving my Xbox Series X and 360. But how can I separate being a MAGA supporter with my hatred for the left, including MSNBC, which I just realized last year was owned by Microsoft. I did not know that they own that, but I guess that they do. I mean, listen, dude, I don't really have an easy answer for that. I mean, if you're a fan of the brand and you enjoy playing on Xbox, I don't think anything should diminish what goes on, what they do outside of the Xbox platform. Like each of these businesses
Yeah.
they support who they support. You may not agree with it, that I understand, but that's where we get into muddy waters. Like, I don't look at what Microsoft does and who they support outside. I'm an Xbox guy, and I try to not mix my political peanut butter with my video game chocolate. I just don't like that. So that's why I don't have an easy answer. But I would say that if it bothers you, if it bothers you, then maybe you shouldn't support them. But that's where I kind of like to part the seas, if you will, because politics is gross and disgusting, and most people that do it are untrustworthy pricks. And video games are fun, and which is what I use to get out of the way of real life, because sometimes real life sucks. I hope that was a good answer for you. Thank you, Rich, for the very generous $25 super chat. We have Chris McComb drops a very generous £5 super chat. Thank you for the generosity, Chris. He says, why do people need games to define a box? Who cares where you play a game as long as you can play it? No more walled gardens is better. I mean, yeah, does it really matter where you play the game? No. But again, I just have to stress this, folks. I'm a dinosaur, and
It
I
did
was
matter
taught,
a lot.
right? I was taught that box A plays games A, B, and C, and this box B, plays games X, Y, and Z. Now, I understand those lines have been blurred, but again, I still have to go right back to the Sacred Cows comments. There are certain IP that you need for your own platform to so consumers can identify that platform with said character. In the same way, I don't think we should ever see a world where Kratos is on an Xbox outside of maybe a fighting character. I just don't see it. But then again, I have an old ideology that I'm just not letting go of. and that's a me problem.
So just to add to it very quick
Yeah,
is
please, by
that,
all
like,
means, yeah.
again, this is, we're still talking about the older model of this, right? The same way, um, movies and music, Apple once cared about you listening to Apple Music on a
Mhm.
iPhone or an iPod, right? Or your iPad or laptop or whatever it is. But now they don't give a shit. They just want you to subscribe to Apple Music, right?
Right, right.
So we're still gaming is still in that transition. Like I said, there will come a point where it's going to be democratized. It's going to be where every game is everywhere, and all you have to do is subscribe to the place that you want to play it. And I don't mean Halo on PlayStation. I mean the Game Pass app. You're going to still have to.
Yeah.
The only way this makes sense is to have an app that you have to subscribe to or purchase your games on and access it in the app. That's the way it's gonna work, but, it's going to happen. We're just still at that phase where if you have exclusives, then people will buy your box. If you have exclusives that people care about, then people will buy your box. So the people who are invested in this still hold on to that idea that without people buying the box, the games won't come to our service, right? Whether third party or first party, they won't be investing more in first party, and third party companies are going to say why make a
Mhm.
game for Xbox if nobody has the box, right? So when you guys say that and you say that, well, why do people care what box it's on? Again, you're half right, because in the future where it doesn't matter what box you have because it's all being streamed and it's just apps
Mhm.
everywhere, yes, nobody would care at that point. But while they're still going to have local hardware to run, Xbox gamers want to know that they're still being heavily invested in, and
Yes.
that third parties are still going to bring their games here because people are still buying Xboxes. That's
Yeah.
why people care.
Yep.
But
Well, again, we,
that's where
we'll
we
know
are.
more in a couple hours, folks. We're gonna get the
Facts.
definitive answers that we've all been asking for. No rumors, no horse shit, just actual answers from the three bigs. But let me just catch these last three
We
super
have a
chats,
couple
see, and we'll
super
get
chats.
you on.
Yep.
We'll get you on out of here.
Yeah,
We
yeah, you're
have
good, man.
Scatterlights drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says Phil said this is about shipping games for you on platforms where Game Pass exists. Don't you think Hi-Fi Rush on Nintendo goes against this?
I do.
It it does.
That's
I
why I
do.
said it. I do. That's why I don't
Can't
believe it
even
yet.
argue there. I think there is
Yep.
something to be said about exclusives. They do matter. They matter to me. That particular one, you know how I feel. I've talked about it to death. I just think that those characters in that game are so special. I don't think they have to go anywhere else. But again, I'm not a money guy. I'm just not. But we'll see. We will see. We have JJ saying 117 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "You see, Tencent is making Elden Ring mobile. I did not see that, and well, that's going to
Did
make a
not see
lot of
that.
money for Tencent, no doubt about that."
Facts.
Um, Archelaus Prime drops a
This
very
one is
generous
big.
$2 super chat and says, "What if today a family plan is announced? That would be dope. I think that a
That's
lot of people would."
word.
Yeah. Hmm.
We talked about this actually, in one of our last videos, about this, because it just dawned on me at the end when I was like, "Oh, shit. I completely forgot about the family plan."
Yep.
Putting Game Pass everywhere, expanding where Game Pass is, allows you to take the loss on your current Game Pass subscribers. So
Hmm.
if you're putting Game Pass on Nintendo, if you're putting Game Pass on PlayStation, if you're putting it elsewhere, then Family Plan would make sense for them, because now you're gonna lose a lot of subscribers on Xbox because they're gonna condense, right? You got 5 people that you're supposed to be able to send, like 5 people, it's not even 5 family members, right? It's just like 5 people with a gamer tag that you can give it to.
Yep.
So you're gonna lose because those people are gonna stop subscribing. They're gonna just be all in on this family plan. But if you're putting it elsewhere, it makes sense. That's why, like, Hi-Fi Rush going to Nintendo through Game Pass subscription makes sense to me.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't that that I was like, yeah, family plan. Where is it? This is the time.
Yeah.
This
Now,
is time, and we're
well,
gonna go
again,
80K.
we're gonna the all-knowing eye is gonna reveal all in just a couple of hours. But listen,
Facts.
speaking of which, where are you gonna be? Where can people check out your content? You have an amazing group of shows that you and the missus and your kids do on a weekly basis. Um, Break it down, man. Where could people check those out? Continue your growth on your channel or on YouTube, where they can subscribe and more importantly, follow you on social media.
Absolutely. Well, I did just put the link in the chat. But first of all, Boom, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate you having me on. Love doing the show, man. So thank you. Today was a big
Thank
day.
you.
Very, very excited. So we first of all, you can follow me on Twitter, see money forever. Doodle to be free is my wife. She might be in the chat. She was
She
in the
was
chat
there. I
before.
said hello to her when she
Yeah.
got in here earlier.
Yep, yep. So Doodle to be free, follow her on Twitter as well.
AKA the
Um,
Pony Smasher, folks.
the Pony
FYI.
Smasher, man. We don't fuck around, man. But as far as our channel, it's called On Point for Gamers. We do 4 live shows a week. Today is a huge one. Yesterday is actually Wednesdays are normally the day we do our podcast, but it was Valentine's Day, so we moved it to Thursday, and then all of a sudden, Big Daddy Phil was like, "Yo, here you go. Let me drop something on you for Thursday." So normally we do 4 o'clock Eastern time, but obviously the show's happening. So we're actually going to be live streaming the show today, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going live. We're going to spend the first half hour just talking about what's going on, what we're feeling, talk to the chat, talk to the community. We'll see what's going on. We'll watch the show live. We'll talk about it for a little while after, and then at 4 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to have our community blowout podcast where we have 7 of our community members are going to be coming up with us on the screen, and we're going to be talking about what they feel, what did they think about the show, whatever the announcements may be, and just dig deeper into it, man. It's going to be a great show, so we would love to have you guys come. I know there's a million people doing this stuff, but if you want to come rock with us, it's going to be a fun time. So definitely come check us out. And then we have, like I said, 4 shows. So that's our podcast. Friday night, we have our night shift. Let's talk gaming. Tomorrow is going to be pretty dope. We're going to have Dread, Dreadpool, Dreadful. Why did I just
Dreadpool.
blanked.
Yes.
Dreadpool, right? I don't know why I just blanked on it. We're gonna have Dreadpool joining us, which is gonna be dope. We're gonna have Ray joining us from Xbox Echo Chamber, and we're gonna have Hargeet Shani gonna be joining us.
Nice.
Gonna
Nice.
be a fun time, so definitely come check this out. We'll unpack things further as
Hmm.
the dust settles and we start hearing more things and stuff like that. So that's gonna be a dope show. Sundays we have Morning Quest, which is one of our favorite shows. Is at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Super duper like chat focused, chat heavy. We talk a lot with the chat, really just kind of whatever we're discussing for that day, just really getting into what everybody's thinking about it, and kind of leading the conversation that way. It's a really fun time. And then our last show is Her, Him, and a Guest, which we do on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And this upcoming week, we have none other than 3-Bit, who's going to be
Nice.
joining us as our guest.
Excellent.
So it should be a good time. So definitely come check us out, man. We really appreciate everybody. We are on the road to 13K. We've been cracking along pretty good. We just passed 12.3. So, we're rocking along, man. We're rocking along. So we would appreciate anybody who comes through, comes rock with us. A lot of the people in the chat already do come rock with us, so we appreciate you. But yeah, man, that's it, bro. Appreciate you,
No.
Boom.
Well, thank you. So appreciate you being a part of the show each and every week. J Mac, I did read your super chat, but I'll read it again because I don't think maybe you missed it. He said this after dropping an additional $5 super chat. If you're an Xbox fan, nothing they say is going to change that in this business. Our
This
feelings
is
don't
business, yeah.
in this business that our feelings don't matter as much as we want them to. So again, thank you so much for the generosity, J Mac. Appreciate it. And I mean, listen, feelings are going to be feelings. The brand isn't going anywhere. The way that you got to look at it is that, again, I have in my mind, and I'm not changing my stance on this, there are sacred cows. Those sacred cows cannot be touched. I don't care what the money men tell you. Brand association, anyone that's a business person understands what that means. And
Yep.
you cannot forfeit IP to other platforms. Look, I think it'd be a pretty terrible day in the world when people look at Master Chief and they think of PlayStation. I'm sorry, I cannot sign off on that. But again, I'm a dinosaur, folks. But with that said, a big shout out to over 1,100 people that tuned into today's show. If you are new and you like the rhetoric, if you like the banter, if you like the conversation, please consider subscribing. We are on the hunt for 15K. Again, we're small, we're mom and pop. It's just me and Mrs. Boom that run the show. That is it. We don't have any corporate sponsors. Anything that we do in giveaways is thanks to the outstanding generosity from the channel that comes the way of super chats and channel membership. We then turn those things around to do the big giveaways. Last year, we gave away over $3,000 worth of prizes. This year, we're going to up the ante. It's going to be about 3,500, give or take. We're going to see if we can extend the Christmas show. Last year, we gave away 1,500. We're going to see if we can get closer to the two, but we have to see how the finances are, because $2,000 given away at Christmas is a big deal. And it's a big deal for us because it's our way of giving back to this community. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And now, before I get there, Nino Vestic has gifted one double barrel gaming membership. Brother, that's super kind of you. Thank you for the generosity. And of course, if you did get that, please thank this man. And of course, I'll close out the show once again. It's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. I think it's more important today than it's ever been, and that is this: treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. To live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.